Gotta get started here in a second. Wait, Brandon to start. Get on. Get started. Bet he's about to join. What's up, Brandon?
Hey Josh, how are you, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Doing excellent.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's get started.
Yeah,
All
let's
right,
do
cool.
it.
So, thank you everyone for tuning in. This is episode 2 of the Developers Podcast, and today we have a very special guest. His name is Brandon Olson. Said that correct, right?
Yeah, Brandon Olson.
And he is with GymSplat. He's the CEO of GymSplat, and I will allow him to take the floor and just give a brief um, summary of who he is and his background and how he got where he is now.
Cool. Yeah, so my name is Brandon Olson. I'm 23 years old. I'm from Richmond Hill, Georgia, and I'm the CEO of GymSplat. I graduated from Georgia Tech in December with a degree in business IT management and a minor in data analytics.
Nice, man. Nice. So, all right, let's get into it. All right. So, how did you get started with GymSplat? I was doing some research, some that I saw just right off your site. And I know you went through a whole startup process. So, like, how did that happen?
Okay, yeah. So we we have like a startup program at our school called CradeX at Georgia Tech.
Hmm.
And basically there's like three different classes you can take in the program. And I had like the basic idea, um, like from freshman year, like freshman summers when I first had the idea. So I was just trying to get into the program so that I could pursue the idea. And so I started off with the first class, and that was Startup Lab. And they taught us all about like customer discovery and how do you find your customers, how to find their problems, and you basically see what their main problems are,
Hmm.
and you see how you can fix the problems, and you figure out like what their daily tasks are with their job. So
Okay.
those were like the three main things. So I'll start off just going to like any gym in Atlanta, like all over the place, LA Fitness, the CRC. I would just stand outside and wait for people to come out, because I realized pretty early on that like if I talk to people on their way in, they don't have time, you know.
Yeah.
But if they're coming out, then they're like feeling relaxed, they're feeling good, they're more likely to talk to me. So
Yeah.
I basically just asked them about, say that again.
Oh, it's like, yeah, they're done with their workout. They're motivated. They just have.
Yeah, yeah, they're feeling good. So I would just ask them like what was their workout, if they have any issues at the gym, and like what's the workout split, stuff like that,
Okay.
and just basically find their main problem. And then the second class was Startup Lab, or wait, it was Startup Lab, and then I honestly forget the name of the second class, but it was like the Make Startup
Okay.
Make. Yeah, so that's where you actually start building your product with the team. So the first day, everyone in the class comes up to the front of the room and pitches their idea. And I was able to get like three people to hop on board with me
Okay.
and help me with my idea. So they also did some customer discovery research, because that's what they emphasized the most,
Hmm.
was just like, what does the customer want? What are their problems? And so that's what we really spent the most of our time doing.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, then we figured out that the main problem at the CRC was like congestion and like people would wait in line for the gym for like the bench presses and squat racks.
What
And
what is a CRC? Just for people that might not know.
yeah. So that's the campus recreation center. That's the gym at Georgia Tech.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And so the initial project was building a virtual queuing system for the bench presses and squat racks.
Okay.
And we implemented that like after we like came back from the COVID hiatus.
Hmm.
And at that point, it really wasn't a problem anymore because people were scared to go to the gym. So yeah, so we had to do a pivot, and I kind of pivoted back to my initial idea, which was you know, how to just make it easy for people to learn how to work out.
Okay.
And the third phase of the CreateX program was startup launch, and that's where we actually launched the company. So I founded the company in June 2020, and yeah, basically like started building it. I had some like co-founders at the beginning, but they didn't last long, and so it's really just been me, and I have like 100% equity, and I've built the whole thing myself. Like other than the iOS app,
Mhm.
I built everything. We don't even use the iOS app anymore. We scrapped it because that was just a queuing system. So now it's all just like a workout planner, progress tracker, basically teaching how people how to work out, making it easy for everyone.
Do you feel like you'll get the iOS app back? Is that like in the works, or is that something you want to do? That,
Um,
that's
that beeping.
what's it? Yeah, my alarm went off. I think my wife is cooking, so it might have got hot in there. So.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I'm gonna make the app, I'm gonna turn it into a cross-compatible app for Android and iOS.
Okay.
And so like the queuing system app that I mentioned earlier, that was all in native iOS. And I know some like Swift and stuff, and I've experimented with UIKit, but the whole web app right now is built with React. So it makes perfect sense for me to just change that to React Native. And
Gotcha.
it's all like one code base.
Right.
And then it'll create like an app for the Android users and the Apple users.
That makes sense. Yeah. Um, so you say you're from Richmond Hill. I'm just gonna backtrack a little bit. How did you end up at Georgia Tech, bro? Like, why'd you want to go there? And because had you been to Atlanta before that? Because Richmond Hill, that's Savannah, like in that area. Uh, so yeah, how did you end up at Tech, and what was that process like? Because man, it's not easy to get to Tech. I know a few, like I graduated, I had a few friends that went, and they were like top of my class, so it must be pretty
Hmm.
smart, bro.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why, like, I was like third in my class, so
Wow.
one away from salutatorian. There was like over 500 in their class, and I applied for UGA and Mercer and stuff, and got into there, and I just figured might as well see if I can get into Georgia Tech.
Yeah.
Got in, and I didn't even really know what I wanted to do at first. Like my mom kind of expected me to be an engineer because that's what like my uncle and my cousins do, and that's what my granddad, he was an electrical engineer. But I was more interested in business and entrepreneurship, so I ended up going in with a business major.
Okay. Nice, nice. And then you graduated with that too. Like you never changed or anything.
Yeah. It was pretty like smooth at the business school. Like it wasn't as rigorous as the engineering majors and stuff. So I the classes weren't all that hard. So that's why I had some time to start focusing on my ideas of my own. I taught myself how to code and stuff.
That was gonna be my next
Yeah.
question. Like, you went to business, so where'd the coding come from? How'd you start, and like, why did you want to start? Because I think he said business and like IT. So
Mhm.
how did that, like, what part of your college career was it like? Oh yeah, I'm trying to do this.
So I so they require every student at Georgia Tech to take at least one computer science class.
Okay.
And so I took mine spring semester of my freshman year, and I just thought it was really cool how you could build anything you want with a computer and writing code.
Right.
And I realized that the world is, becoming more automated, and
Mm,
every company in the world wants an app, needs an app.
it's
And
true.
I thought I should learn how to build an app, and then that'd be a really valuable skill set.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what made you focus in the like fitness sector, gym, like the gym industry? Or was that motive?
Um,
Yeah.
I've always been really interested and passionate about fitness. Like I played soccer all through high school, and I got into bodybuilding like towards the end of high school, and I even competed in a show.
Yo,
Yeah, it was like a small show in Noonan, Georgia, but it was fun. I like dieted and got that spray tan and everything.
bro. So you know like all
But
the poses and stuff too?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Double front
Okay.
double bicep. My best one was the most muscular pose. That's where you just be like,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
pretty decent traps. But the past like 3, 4 years, I switched from the weights to calisthenics. So I've been doing like mostly body weight, and then just recently I added back some weights too.
Okay. And that's more like for, I guess, tone and like endurance type thing.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why I started adding some weight back in, because I realized you can't really get the same
Yeah.
strength and size without some weights.
Yeah. Man, in
Mhm.
high school, I was so into fitness and working out and sports and stuff. And when I got to college, like all that just dwindled for me. Like I cannot consistently stay in the gym. It's my biggest goal every year. Like every year when New Year comes around, like my New Year mantra is about to get back in the gym. But I don't know, man. That's what I need to still.
You can do it, dude. Just
Right.
you gotta just make it a habit, add it to your routine, whatever you're doing each day. The best way to add a healthy habit to your life is to add it directly before or directly after an already existing habit. So if you already have like the habit of going to class or whatever,
Right.
just add it directly after that. So now you have those habits coupled, you see?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
When do you usually go to the gym?
So I work like 9 to 5 typically, and then I'll work out, and then lately I've been working again after I work out.
Okay.
But yeah, I have like a home gym, so it's easier for me, I guess, to just walk into my garage and work out.
Okay. Would you say you use GymSplat for your workouts?
Yeah, yeah, every day. Me and my all my friends, we use it to log our workouts, and we compete on the scoreboard for SplatPoints.
I was checking out the scoreboard. I seen you're number two right now, so you got some work to do.
Yeah, I know.
Tucker's got you beat.
Yeah, Tucker's ahead of me, but I don't know. I'm getting closer. I think I'm pretty close.
Yeah.
So any day now, I'll pass him.
I gotta look at the leaderboards again so I know. Um yeah. I really like the app though. It's cool. Like the I have my official feedback. Let me talk about it a little bit. So first off, I think the app looks amazing. Um, the UI is fine. It's really nice. Um,
Thank you.
and the cards are definitely a nice touch. Like I like the fact that you can swipe and use them. Like on the like after you sign in, you can like change and like do your reps and all that. I like
Mhm.
that. Let's see. Oh, one question I had. The character. What is the motivation for him? Because when I seen him, I was like, this is real nostalgic. Like I feel like he looks similar to like a Dragon Ball Z character, and
Mhm.
like that exudes just absolute strength. So
Yeah.
like, what that like the reasoning for it?
Yeah, I was always a big fan of Dragon Ball Z, probably since I was in third grade. I've seen every single episode, and I'm watching Dragon Ball Super now. I'm pretty
Okay.
far into it,
Yeah.
but but yeah, Goku and Gohan, and just wanted to be like them, training in the hyperbolic time chamber under 10 times gravity.
What it feels like when you go to the gym. It feels like you're in it.
Yeah, you're always trying to level up, right?
Yeah, that's true. I haven't I haven't been on my anime like I used to be. I didn't finish Super. I've seen bits and parts, but I haven't finished it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not as good as Dragon Ball Z, I don't think, just because like the levels are just so ridiculously high. They had to like turn them into gods. So,
Like
but
unfathomable.
yeah, it is still pretty cool to see Goku back in action.
Yeah, that's true. All right. I'm gonna ask some more. I want to say, let's see. I'm gonna jump around a little bit. I didn't want to use this super as a reference, but I have to because I go blank sometimes. Um, you already touched on how your idea came about. Oh, the name. How did you come up with the name of GymSplat?
Yeah, so I experimented with it. I knew I wanted it to be two syllables and I wanted it to have gym in it.
Mhm.
And so at first it was like GymBot whenever I was in startup lab, and like people seemed to like that. My professor liked that,
What's
but
your reasoning for the two syllables?
just because I feel like it rolls off the tongue and I just wanted it to be like easy. I didn't want it to be like some long name, I just want it to be like recognizable. And so like it was GymBot at first, but then I Googled it and there was already GymBot, I think. And
Yeah,
so I thought about it and I thought GymSplat would be cool because I could definitely like use that as part of the marketing, Splat. And then I thought about I could do SplatPoints, and then I wrote it down on a piece of paper with like the camel case, and I was like, wow, that looks cool. And
yeah.
that's how I went with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when people look at the site, they're gonna see that splat, like it's all through the site, and I like that.
Thank you. Yeah. Appreciate that.
Splat points. How in depth do splat points go? Because I know that they are used on the leaderboards, but are there other uses for them, like at the CRC or like in other? Have you um implemented a new like a way to use them outside of the leaderboard aspect?
That's a good question. So I'm thinking right now it'll be like some sort of reward system. Like whenever you get to 10,000 splat points, you get a gym splat sticker.
Oh, nice.
And
I like that.
then, different tiers like that. Maybe the next 100,000 splat points, you'll get a gym splat tank top.
Okay.
And a million splat points, you'll get a gym splat hoodie.
Okay. Yeah.
That's just what I'm having in mind right now. But another gym I'm talking to in Pooler, SoFit Fitness, they're interested also like in the scoreboard and how they could use that with their clients. And
Mhm.
so we're talking about ways that he could have his own type of reward system at his gym. So yeah.
The new new prospects. So like you said, it's called Fit On.
SoFit.
So Fit. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that like? Like when it comes to um reaching out to owners or prospects or finding new gyms, like what is that process like? Would you say it's hard, or would you say like it's just, part of the process? How would you describe just, I guess, initiating that conversation with a gym?
Yeah. So I'd say at first it was pretty difficult because I was going gym to gym, and I started back in June 2020. And so back then it was more of a concept. So
Mm.
it's not like I was showing them like working out like I am now.
I'm sure COVID also had an impact on the difficulty in there.
Yeah, yeah, and that kind of caused me to kind of pivot the marketing stance too. Like I was pitching like we could help reduce congestion and still talking about the queuing systems because when people come back, you don't want people within 6 feet.
Hmm.
Um, but yes, but as like I continued to build and as I created a product that is actually real product that people can use and sign up and the gyms can use today. It became a lot easier, and just, doing reps like anything else. The more times you do something, the easier it gets.
Right.
Yeah. And so I acquire all my new clients by going door to door, gym to gym. I
Okay.
don't spend any money on advertising or anything. So that's my method right now.
Okay, gotcha. And how many, as much as you're able to reveal, like how many gyms are currently using gyms, and to
So
what
right now, go on. What were you saying?
and to like what capacity are they in use of, like, is GymSplat like a one use thing? Like if you say like, yeah, I want GymSplat, like is it tailored per gym? Because I know the gym map is very specific to that gym's setup.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the CRC is our main client right now. I mentioned SoFit, and I have a meeting with the owner of SoFit tomorrow. I was talking to Amped in downtown Savannah.
Mhm.
They're a personal training gym, so slightly different business model, but they're also a prospect. But still early on. I'm not making a ton of money, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but yes, in terms of like tailoring it to each gym, the reason I did that was because I wanted people at Georgia Tech to like be able to quickly, sign into GymSplat, sign up, and then you're already like have gyms. You already have the CRC like set up and ready to go, and you don't have to request to join the gym or make any additional clicks. And so that's why I kind of defaulted the initial gym to the campus recreation center.
Okay. On Georgia Tech's campus, is GymSplat popular? Like, do people know about it a lot?
I wouldn't say it's super popular, but like in my circle, like people know about it for sure. Like people have heard about it.
Mhm.
And uh yeah, it's like we're trying to get the word out more. I think we have over 200 people that have signed up, and most of them have been from Georgia Tech. But in terms of like daily active users, it's not super popular at Tech just yet. But like I'd say the brand recognition is pretty high.
Okay.
When people hear GymSpot, they know basically what it is. But I'd like them to, start using it more.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
I know your strategy for finding new owners is, pretty much door to door. But what about like new members? Is that word of mouth, or are you implementing like ads or anything like that?
Yeah, it's mostly just word of mouth and social media. Like GymSplat's on Instagram, and we've got a LinkedIn page too. So those are really our three main channels right now. It's just, hopefully when people start using it, they tell their friends,
Yeah.
and if the product's good enough, other people will want to keep using it too.
Yeah. So as far as the users go, do you have so you said the iOS app not is not what you're doing right now. It's kind of something you probably do later. Um, my question, I guess, is as far as user experience, I feel like the web app working out like with it, like along with it. Um, I don't know. I feel like people just love apps. So do you have like a timeline on when you would want that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So what I did was I built the web app first, and you can access the web app on any device. You can access it on your phone, whether it's Android, iPhone, it'll work just the same.
Mhm.
But the only thing is you have to go to your web browser, and there is a way actually to save websites like
Oh,
on your
like
phone.
marking it, and I like it'll pop up on like on your home screen.
Yeah, and have a little icon. So
Yeah,
that's kind of like an app,
right.
but but whenever until like it's on the App Store and on the Google Play Store, I'd say maybe 6 months to a year.
Okay.
And the reason for that is I'm just focusing on the web app for now. I'm working out all the kinks, doing
Yeah.
testing and stuff. And this is actually the harder way to do it. Like going from building on the web to going to React Native.
Mhm.
Like it's going to be easy to switch over to React Native because it's actually more simple than building for the web because you like take away all the styling basically, like all the CSS, and
Yes.
instead it uses like the native components on the phones. Like use a button, it'll be the native iOS button, or a switch, be
Right.
the native Android switch.
Okay. That makes sense. Um,
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure Snapchat, they just came out with their web app version like a few like maybe a month ago.
okay. All right. Yeah, I was looking at my little notes here. What are some of the notes you have in mind? Okay, okay. There are some spots of the app that I feel like could be faster. What
Mm-hmm.
like how do you feel like you'll I don't know, like time complexity as far as like running time and stuff like that? What are your
Mm-hmm.
solutions that you have in mind for that?
Yeah, I agree. I think that's the main drawback right now. Everything needs to be like almost instant.
Mm,
And there are a bunch of methods that I'm working on to speed it up. Like for one, I don't think I really need, I mean, you can tell me what you think, but I don't think I need every single exercise picture or like the workout decks. I'm
mm,
thinking of making it more like a summary, like it shows the cover, which shows the muscle groups that it works and the name of the workout. But then whenever you swipe, the next card is like a summary of the workout itself. Like, if you're doing chest, it'll say 3 sets of 8 on bench press,
right.
3 sets of 10 on chest press, all on one card, instead of you having to swipe to see every single exercise. And
Mm,
if I do it like that, then I won't have to display the images, because I think that's what's slowing it down the most, is having to fetch all the images for every exercise. So that's one method. Another method I've been working on today is like, whenever you do for loops and JavaScript, you
mm,
could you can like async await. And if you're like awaiting inside the for loop, it actually waits until each iteration of the for loop finishes before it goes to the next one. And so I'm switching the awaiting inside the for loop to use promises. And there's a syntax called promised at all. So instead of it being like increments, like every single iteration one by one, it's called concurrent. So basically it's fetching out everything I need all at the same time rather than going one by one by one.
okay,
So
yeah.
so that'll speed it up, I think, whenever I switch all the code to that.
Okay. And the reason why I asked is because right now I have this algorithm analysis class, and it's all about time complexity and running time. So right
Mm,
now, like for me, it's like a whole bunch of theory and um, and and like practicing it in code. But it's cool to like hear your perspective of it, like in a real time app that you have done, solely by yourself. Uh,
mm-hmm.
So like I was wondering, just for my own curiosity, like what algorithms do you because I know there's so many, but like what algorithms do you definitely use when you're coding for stuff like I know you said for that for loop, that instance, like for that's something, but like do you have any other examples of that?
Like, are you thinking like different ways to sort? Like
Yeah, stuff like
bubble sort is like the slowest one, I think, right?
yeah.
Um, but I honestly use like the functions that are built in to JavaScript,
Mhm.
and there's not really like specific algorithm that's my go-to. I really just I think it through how I would do it in my head,
Okay.
and just create whatever like loop I need to do. And so I'm sure there's ways I could speed it up different places, but yeah, I don't have like specific algorithms that I
Okay.
use regularly. Yeah.
So you said you were self-taught. What how did you do that? Like for anybody who is like, man, I'm not trying to I don't really want to go to school to learn how to code. Like what was your roadmap? If you had to advise anyone who's like, man, I really want to learn this, how would you advise someone to be like what steps would you give them?
Yeah, so in my opinion, I don't think people need to really go to school to learn how to program. It's
Mm.
all out there. It's all on Google, YouTube. You just gotta know what questions to ask.
Yeah.
And so if you're wanting to build an app, you want to find tutorials, and like the go-to app to build so you can learn how to build an app is a to-do list. You probably heard about that, but just like your notes, how you can like cross them off and write new things to do. So that's probably the easiest, like, you know, if you want to learn how to build a native iOS app, look up on YouTube how to make a to-do list using iOS, Swift, and UIKit. Or like, you could do it with React, which is for the web, or React Native, cross compatible. But yeah, it's all the information's out there. You just gotta take the time and yeah, really just go through tutorials, do the whole thing. Like pause whenever you need to, experiment. But that's the way to do it, and anyone can learn. It doesn't take a degree, you know.
That makes sense. So that's good. Yeah, you guys, if you're trying to learn how to code, take that advice. What sources did you definitely use? Like, YouTube is always good, but did you do any like boot camps, or like did you use any specific websites like Pluralsight or Udacity or Udemy, or what did you personally use?
Yeah, so Georgia Tech gave us all free accounts on LinkedIn Learning. So I utilized that, and I did some tutorials on LinkedIn Learning, like just, how to code in JavaScript and how to create a React app. Just went through the whole tutorial and then messed around with the code myself. But there's tutorials like that on YouTube that are just as good for free. So you don't need to sign up for LinkedIn
Yeah.
Learning. Yeah.
In your learning process, how much coding did you do? Like, how much a day, I guess, time wise, like hours, were you putting in daily? Or did you in the beginning process? Because I know you were balancing that with school. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I was kind of like learning. Well, I did a little bit of learning before I started building anything, and I had like a part-time job, so I would just, do it after work for a couple hours here and there. But it's probably good to like spend 4 hours a day going through tutorials and stuff. That's a good amount of time. But whenever I started building the actual company, I was still learning how to build and code while I was creating a product. And
Right.
so at that time, I was spending at least 8 hours a day, probably more like 10,
Yeah.
12. But yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, I like my questions. Let's see. But I'll just say we probably got maybe 8 minutes because I have the basic Zoom, so it's gonna end it on that. So, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Um, all right. So yeah, what are some of the biggest questions you get from like your I'll say it's like two parts to this. So like what are the biggest questions you get from prospects as far as gym owners, and what are their biggest questions they have when you're reaching out to them?
Yeah, so it really depends on what gym I go to, but at the personal training gyms, they're interested in like how can they create a workout and have their client go through the workout without them really like having to do much,
Mhm.
like be there to walk them through it. And I think that's where like the fitness industry is headed. Like people are going to use, apps and digital assistants to walk them through workouts and stuff. But at the other gym I'm talking to, SoFit and Pooler, like I mentioned earlier, they're interested in the reward system. So we talked about, different ways he could gamify going to the gym and to incentivize his members to keep coming back. And he is also interested in like a plan for his members that are beginners to working out. So they don't know too much about lifting,
Right.
but they're also not willing to pay for like a personal trainer.
Mhm.
So that's like a segment of members where he thinks he could provide like a more expensive than the basic plan, but cheaper than, the basic plan plus a personal trainer. So those are some questions, but it really just varies on what gym I go to and what their problems are.
Okay, that makes sense. What's your uh what's your biggest goal for this year as far as both personal and for GymSplat?
It's a good question. Um, I would say I'd like to have at least maybe two, three more gyms on the platform.
Mhm.
Um, and for myself, I'm always setting like new fitness goals for myself. So like for a while it was doing handstands, see how long I could do handstands.
So,
And
I was just doing it yesterday.
yeah, those
Got
are
about,
fun.
got about three
But
seconds in.
nice. But I've been focusing a lot on like MMA and boxing training. So I've been incrementally going up in how many rounds I've been doing. So like I do 5-minute rounds every day after my regular workout. So I guess maybe I'd like to get to 5-minute rounds before the end of the year. That'd be a good goal.
Okay. Ooh, nice, nice. Um, all right, cool. Pressing go. Yeah. Oh yeah, this is the question that I really want to know. How much like outsourcing do you do for the app? Like because some of that stuff is like really intricate, like 3D animations of the machines themselves. Like I was like, wow, this is impressive. So like, how did you do all that yourself, or like how'd you do that?
Yeah, so I wrote all the code myself, but the 3D machines, I buy the 3D machines on Turbo Squid. And so, yeah, so I'll buy the 3D, usually like an object or a Blender file, and then I'll change the colors to GymSplat colors, and I'll use that as the 3D rotating machine. But I don't really outsource at all. I wrote every line of code myself, but I do use some other like services, like third-party services, like for search and um, like text reminders and stuff like that. I've worked with a little bit, but yeah, I don't outsource to any team or anything.
Okay. Do you is it a goal to have new developers on? I know you said you're kind of still in the beginning process of like as far as expansion and like revenue in a sense. So like and I know people they want to get paid. So like do you feel like
Mhm.
you do want to have more developers on your team, or is that something, you know, a little bit farther in the future?
Whenever I was in college, I was looking for people to help out because back then I didn't know as much about building an app. But at this point, I've came so far and like I've written every line. I know exactly what everything does.
Mhm.
So it's not a priority for me. And I can't pay like a startup salary to a software engineer right now anyway. So that's not really a priority for me at the moment, but down the line, I'm sure it'll be nice to have developers to, help me with new features and stuff as the company grows.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Hey man, you're doing your thing, bro. You are.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate
You definitely
being
gonna
on the
motivate.
podcast.
You're gonna motivate a lot of people, man. I just know it.
Thank you. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, people need to get active. That's the main thing,
Thing
you
is,
know.
too, is like the app is like brilliant, bro. Like I could just see this like in like gyms across the country and the world, honestly, just being like Planet Fitness, boom, GymSplat. Like
Mhm.
see it, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I can see it too. And all of them have like, or like the big box gyms that they mostly have some sort of an app.
Mhm.
But in my opinion, GymSpot's way better than all those apps out there. So
It's like if you as you expand and as you understand the industry and like make your connections and stuff, like I could see it to where like they incorporate your app on their app, like earn splat points, you know, even if they're not using like Planet Fitness, that's a huge company. So they're probably gonna stick with their app, but they might incorporate like splat points in some way.
Hmm.
You know, that'd be cool.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I don't want it to end on this. So I just want to say thank you for being on the podcast. Yeah, man, I appreciate you coming through. And
Yeah, thanks for the feedback and thanks for allowing me to be on. It's been fun.
all righty, man. It was good talking to you, and we'll stay in contact. And I can't wait to see you on this journey, man. Keep up the great work and motivate a lot of people. And keep doing your thing, bro.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, man. See you.
Bye.
All
Have
right.
a good night.